Good morning and welcome back to the Baker Farm. I'm George. Today I'm going to discuss with you the Premier One 3D electric deer fence that I've put up around my garden and my orchard. Now there's about 1,800 feet of fencing, and I'm just going to kind of pan here and kind of show you how it goes. This is the garden area, and across the ditch there is the orchard. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to plan your site ahead of time, because the shipping can add up quite quickly if you don't get everything you need the first time around. Now, like I said, I'm running about 1,800 square feet, not square feet, sorry, 1,800 linear feet on the cord. Now you'll notice, being 3D, there's 3 cords, so you'll need to take your diameter or your perimeter of your area and multiply it by 3 to get your length of cord that you'll need. And each one of these is roughly about, I don't know, about 900 linear feet per fence. Now you'll notice I go across the ditch here, and I'll talk more about how I did that later, because I'm using one Energizer and I'm feeding both fences. So I hope you hang with me. I'm going to show you all the parts and pieces I used. This isn't going to be an installation video per se, but how to use each part and what parts are you need. I will have a chapter list down in the description. It might make more sense to go ahead and buy a little extra cord or a few extra parts and pieces now if you're planning to expand. Now for the garden, I gave myself extra room for some extra garden beds, as well as some extra beehives down the road, because I didn't want to have to move this fence. The way we're going to set up the fence today is semi-permanent, meaning that it is movable fairly easy, but it is designed to stay in place for long periods of time. The first thing you're going to want to do is set up your end posts. Now for the 3D fence, you'll need 2 at each end, and you'll see that here. Now I'm using the metal posts. You could also use wood if you want to make it a little more permanent and sink them down a good bit and cement them in, or do whatever you wish to do there. And that will change some of the connectors you'll need for the end post. I'll be showing you the connectors for the metal T-post, as they're called. So let me show you what else you're going to need for that. I would highly recommend a post driver, and I'll show you quickly how that works. You can get these post drivers just about anywhere. Tractor Supply or Lowe's has them. They're a little heavy, but you just take them on the top of the post, and I'm not actually going to do it because it's very loud, but you just kind of ram it up and down. It makes it extremely easy to get these posts in the ground, especially if you have clay like I do. Last time I looked, these things were somewhere between $30 or $40, but they're a godsend if you use a lot of these T-posts. Once you've got your T-post in place, your interior ones, the exterior will need to be 3 foot away from that one to give space. The way this fence works is it's supposed to mess with the deer's sense of perception, depth perception. So they're a little leery of trying to jump it because they're not exactly sure where one fence ends and the other fence begins. Now the reason I've got the deer fence up is I noticed they were nibbling my grapes, and next year I plan on planting some blueberries across the ditch in the orchard, and they like blueberries. I've also seen some of my plums disappear, although that's probably due to birds. The intermediate posts between your metal posts are these fiberglass rods. So once you've got your metal end posts in, you need to put your fiberglass rods in. There's 2 sizes you'll need. You'll need a 5 foot and a 4 foot. 4 foot will go on the outside, the 5 foot will go on the inside. Now, you're supposed to drive these about 6 to 8 inches in the ground. You don't want to do that initially because you're not sure with the slope of your ground and how wavy it is and the elevation. You want to make sure they're not too deep, that you can't keep your lines even, your cord even. So what I do is I take it down and just kind of give it a couple of easy taps with this end cap protector. You don't want to hit here because you'll split it. These end cap protectors are just a few bucks. So once you've got that done, you'll want to do the same thing with your outside one, your short one. Now a little cheat code for that is take one of your rods and measure from the flat end to 3 feet and put your piece of tape. Then you can lay that on the ground and you'll know exactly where you need to put your 4 foot rod. Do the same thing, just knock it in a few inches. You want to put these about every 20 to 35 feet. I put them a little closer. Most of mine are about 16 feet across. I like the added support it gave, and I also read the instructions wrong. But you can do whatever you need to do. These things are only a couple bucks a piece, so if you feel like you need them closer, you can do that. Once you've got them in place, you'll need to put on your screw-on connectors. Now, initially, I tried to put the screw-on connectors in, adjust them, put them in, adjust the post and all that other stuff. That was really havoc on my back. So what I wound up doing is I just dropped 2 on the back post. I just dropped 2 down on the back and 1 on the front, and I just went all the way around and did that. That way I'd only have to bend down once to screw them and set them in place. And for that, I have another cheat stick. And this has the 2 back cord heights measured and the front cord height. So you have 20 inches for the bottom one, 34 for the front one, and then 48 for the top one. Now make sure you go again from the flat end. The first thing I would do is I'd want to have this sunk 6 to 12 inches. So I'm looking at this top part where the top cord goes, and I just kind of bang it in a little bit to make sure that I still have enough post left to have it at 48 inches. Take my protector off. Then I just bend down once, pick up the screw-on connector, slide it up to where I need it to be, and screw it on. Then I do the exact same thing with the one in the front. For the T-post, you're going to need one of 2 different insulators. You need a terminal insulator or a notched terminal insulator. And the notch has a little notch here in the corner. You're also going to need something to connect it to the T-post. I had some of this old electric fence wire laying around. Turns out it works perfectly. I'm going to show you how I do that. We'll move you in a little closer in a minute. Now, what determines the difference? If you're on a corner, you're going to want to use the notch because it makes running the cord a whole lot easier, especially if you've got a large area like I do. You're going to use the unnotched wherever you terminate a connection. So at a gate is usually the most common, or when you're end of cord. If you don't have a gate, you may have it at one of your corners on either side, so you can terminate your cord there. So I'm gonna move you in a little closer and show you how I connect this up. So what I do is I get a piece of that electric fence wire, and I run it across the front and across the back. And then I just kind of twist it around once or twice. Then I take the closed hole on the notched or either hole on the unnotched insulator, and I just run both wires through that. Then I go over the top and I just give it a couple twists. You're not dealing with a lot of pressure here, so it doesn't need to be super tight. Just twist it and get it out of the way, and then you're good to go. Now make sure that these are on the side that you want to run your cable. Now I've got this fence turned off right now so I don't shock myself. But one of the other things you'll need to consider when planning is how many gates you want. Are you going to need your lawnmower in the area? Do you need enough space for that? I went 10 feet on most of my gates. Now each gate has 3 wires. You're going to need a total of 4 T-posts for each gate. You'll also need your fence hardware for this. Now, you can buy a kit from Premier One, but if you're already buying your cord, you can save money by just buying the individual pieces. And I'll have those listed out as well. And that'll save you about $5 per fence line. You'll need 3 sets per gate. You'll also need this double-coated, double-insulated wire that they sell. Now, you just can't go down to Lowe's and grab any wire off the shelf because that only goes up to most of that wire only goes to 600 volts. You need to be able to handle in excess of 3,000 volts. If you've got a smaller fence, that number may reach 5,000 or 6,000 volts. Now, while we're on the subject of double insulated wire, you need to take a lot of things in account for that. For instance, that's how I joined across the ditch. I've got a length of the double insulated wire run across, and it connects to the fence on this side. And I'll show you how I did that in a little bit later. And then across the ditch, it connects over there as well. You will also need lengths near your gates. Let me walk over here and show you that. Now, if you look down in the front one there, you'll see the double insulated wire running down the length of the T-post. And it's also running down the length of the T-post here because you only have one connector from your Energizer. So all three wires have to be connected somewhere. Now, you can't see it anymore, but there's actually from here underneath the ground to over here, I've run the double insulated wire as well, and it goes up and it connects. And then I've got a jumper from that side that comes over to this side and connects right there. You'll need to do that with any of your gates that don't have energy on both sides. Now, if you're doing just a normal square with one gate, you will not have to jumper it because you'll connect it to one side of the gate or the other, and that will energize the entire square. Now, in my case though, I have a gate here and I have a gate over there. So this section here has to be energized somehow. And that's the reason for the jumper there. Now the way these gates work is you have one side that is not energized. Then you have another side that is, and it's connected to your wire. This thing is spring loaded and it's got a metal conductor in the middle and it connects to your cord. What that does is that makes sure this whole line is energized. Now, once you release it, which is pretty easy, just a little spring, you let it go, your wire here is no longer energized. Now, if it was to touch another wire, it would be energized. So you need to be careful you don't grab it and then try to go down and grab the other one. Just do one at a time. Also be careful bending because you may bump one with your head. Once you have your post set up, it's time to run your cord. I went with the EnduraSoft 6.0 from Premier One. The couple things I like about this, one is the coloring. It allows the animals to see it at night so it remains as effective at night as it is during the day. The other is the fact that it has a estimated 25-year lifespan. Now that's not a guarantee. Climates are different everywhere and the environment is different everywhere. So things like excessive heat, excessive rain, those kinds of things can reduce the lifespan of the cord, but it is expected to last a very long time. It is also UV protected. Now, when you get started, you'll need to start with one of these terminal ends, these insulators that without the cut in it. And what I'll do is I'll move you forward and show you how I'm going to set this up. Now, you're going to take one of these RopeLinks here. These are really easy to use. You just run your cord through it, and then you just kind of start at the top here, kind of loop it around, and then just wrap it around the RopeLink. And when you're done, it isn't going anywhere. Now you can also, the double insulated wire, you can run a strand of it through here as well. It's kind of stiff to wrap, but it can be done. I've actually wrapped two pieces of the double insulated wire, of course stripped down to the bare metal through this, and it works quite nicely. Now this is a close-up of the notched one. So when you're going around your corners, what you'll do is you'll just hook the wire in the notch here, and it will serve to hold it against the post. One other thing I recommend is go down the entire length, go from metal post or from wooded post to wooded post, and just run it that entire length, and then go back and your screw-on connectors, just pick up the cord and latch it in those as well, and then just pull it tight at the other end. Once you do that, then you can start your next run. So you'll need to repeat that with 3 times for each cable. Then once you're done with the cable, you'll need to set up your gates if you haven't already. And of course, if you have a gap that's between two gates, like I do, you'll need to run a cable underground. You don't have to dig it very deep, just, you know, a couple of inches, and then you'll run it to the other end and connect it there as well with the link wrap I just showed you. All right, so you've got your wire run, you've got your gates set up. Next thing you want to do is energize the fence, and you're going to need some kind of energizer. They sell AC ones and DC ones. The DC tend to be solar generated. You can probably make your own DC one as well. But I went with the SolarStop80. It's 0.8 joules. I believe it's 8,200 volts. And you can see from this blinking, the little yellow blinking, that means it's collecting solar energy. Now you can see it's also very cloudy. So this thing, the solar panel is very sensitive. Now the way this works is, you got a 12 volt battery in here that's connected up. So as long as that panel is exposed, it's charging. Then it comes with these two cables here that you then hook up to your fence and hook up to a ground. The black goes to the ground and the red goes to your fence. And like I was telling you before, you have one connection point. So that's why all three strands have to be connected. Now you'll notice here that I have one of the wire wraps here, and I've got the double insulated cable wrapped here, and then it goes across the ditch there. In this little gap here, I'm going to be putting in a bridge eventually, and I'll be able to hide the wire on the side of the bridge over to my orchard. Now for the ground, you have a couple of choices. One, what works for some people is connecting it right to the pole, because as you can see, it is mountable with no additional parts needed. You can mount it to the top of the post, the T-post. The other option, and this is provided, is they give you this little T-bar here. They recommend a dead drop mallet to put it in. I did it with a regular mallet. It worked just fine. What I would recommend, because I didn't want the extra post in the way for mowing and stuff, I connected it to the T-post, and then you'll need to check your connectivity, your conductivity. The way you're going to do that is this fancy little meter here, voltage meter that it includes. You need to have at least 3,000 volts at any point in the fence. So what I do is I go from the furthest from the meter here, or with the most connections, I mean not the meter, the Energizer, and I check it there, because if it's good there, it's going to be good in between there. You want to check all three lines. So where I put it is I put it in the middle of both of the fences. So that way each fence should have good connectivity all the way around, conductivity. So let's go ahead and I'll show you how it's tested. I'm going to start right here by my main gate. So it has to go through another gate connections to get to the Energizer. So this is about the farthest from the Energizer in this section. Now, the other section where my beehives are, that is a little longer, but that's a straight run with no connections. So there's a good chance that it's good to go if this side is, but I can test both sides. So let me show you how this works. So first off, I need to turn it back on. The Energizer has two settings. It has an energy saver and a max output. I recommend starting with the energy saver and seeing what your voltage reads. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on to energy saver. And now, if we flip around here, you'll notice that light's green and yellow. That means the green means it's energized. Now we want to check the fence and see what the voltage is. So what we're going to do here, you can take the probe and push it into the ground. Best you can. My ground's a little hard. Then you're going to take the tip and touch it to the fence. Wait a second. So I've got about 3 3.7 there. Whoops. Okay, there we go, better connection. I got 5,000 volts right there. Then up here, actually I'm gonna wait till it clears. Then up here, I'm also at 5,000 volts. Then we'll go ahead and check the outside. You can plug it in the ground. And once again, we're at 5,000 volts. So the last thing you want to do is you need to put your scent caps in and your signs. Now most animals, if they can get through this, a bear can get through it. What you want to do is you want to make sure that it's enough of a deterrent. So you want to kind of show them what they're in line for, and the way you do that is with the scent caps. So let me show you those. All right, I've turned it off again. So this is what the scent cap looks like. Little bottle cap with a wire through it and a piece of cotton. It has this apple scent that they have. You put a couple of drops in there and that smell will attract the deer, and the deer will come over and touch it with their nose and get a little bit of a jolt. And that'll keep them away, keep them remembering not to go near. After you've done that, you want to go ahead and put your signs up. Now, I recommend the signs on there to protect you from, accidents. Make sure that everybody in your area knows what it is, that it's an electric fence. I can't talk to liability. That would be a question for a lawyer. You also want to check local laws and whatnot and see if there's any special requirements. But I've got them, as you can see, there's yellow signs all the way around, because I am in a somewhat urban, rural area. We've all got about 3-acre lots, but I just want to make sure that there's no confusion about what's going on here. That wraps it up. I appreciate you hanging in till the end. Like I said earlier, I'll have a link to the blog post in the description. That'll have the list of everything I used here. It'll have links to Premier site. One thing I didn't discuss is they've got several good documents on how to set it up, the measurements and everything I discussed. I'll link to their main site there where you can see where that is as well. So this is it. Have a wonderful weekend, an amazing harvest, and awesome adventures. Till next time, I'm George, and this is the Baker Farm.